Cool, yeah. So I'm Gareth Nicoll. I am resident of 314 Samuel Garside House. I've lived here since it was built, which was what, 2014, I think.
What kind of attracted you to the area or the building to begin with?
Ironically, the balconies. If you look outside, it's a 6-foot balcony, 6 foot wide, and then it runs the length of the flat. So you've got more outdoor space here than any other property I looked at in London. Really, like when I was looking at buying a flat, I looked at a couple in like Romford and stuff like that, and a few like closer to London, and yeah, you were getting a much smaller like outside space. Like when I came to these, they are big apartments, and yeah, and then you get all the outside space. So I think that was it really.
Yeah. So in the first kind of, well, I guess you lived there for about 5 years before the fire actually happened. What was your experience of living here during that time?
I mean, it's good. It's a mixed bag. We had issues with like the previous management agency, like not really doing a lot for the building. So we ended up having issues with like the heating, where they hadn't been servicing we've got like a ground source heat pump. So all of the hot water comes from the heat pump, so radiators, and then all your hot water for your showers and stuff is pumped into a tank. So if that thing dies, you've got nothing. And we saw, like, basically the company who were managing it went bust, but it turns out that they'd never serviced it, and so that created like issues with that. But I mean, overall, it's a nice area to live. It's brand new. You've got bits and pieces of problems. Obviously, transport is an issue because you are beholden to the A13. Should there be an accident on the A13, you are not getting a bus in or out of here. But I guess in the next 2-3 years, we're expected to finally have the rail extension, which would be nice. Should it arrive? I mean, I think they've started building it now. Like overall, it's a nice area to live, and I would have said generally positive.
Were there any? Did you ever have any kind of safety concerns within the building? No,
not really. So this was something we were discussing. I was discussing with a neighbour recently. I remember when I came to look at them, and we went to Belway used to have an office at the end of the road down there, and they took us around Ernest Webster. So like she was like, oh, we can go in and have a look and everything else, and we went, and it's all really nice and everything. And I remember at the time I'd said to the lady who was showing the house, I was like, so it's a balcony made of wood, and she's like, oh yeah, no, all the wood's like fire safe, it's all treated and everything else. Like it's basically, you should consider it like a fire door, so it should have a 30-minute fire retardant system on it. Obviously that ended up not being the case, and yeah, I mean, prior to the fire, I'd always been like, oh, well, we've been told that, I assume that's correct. I know, like, it was in maybe November when the other year when RMG took over, and all of a sudden we got fire marshals, and then it was like, well, wait a minute, why have we got fire marshals, or whatever they were called at the time? I was like, if this is all safe, what's, and RMG at the time played it down, and they were very much like, oh no, it's all fine, there's no problems. And I know like the Residents Association and a number of residents really sort of took up the cause of that. I was kind of following along, but not massively involved in it. But at the time I was like, oh, okay, something's maybe not right here, because this does seem a bit off. But that, prior to that, I'd never really had any safety concerns, because again, I'd been told, oh, the balconies are treated, it's all safe, and you kind of assume what you're told is the truth. I mean, I've got a pack somewhere in here from Belway, which I'm sure what's his name, Ian Gorst, or whoever it was on the day, sort of said, oh, well, no, when you've got all your stuff, it tells you in there what it is. And it's like, well, I mean, the thing's like this thick. And you're like, I'm sure it does, mate, but your sales agent told me it's fire treated. So I've always took you on your word that it's fire treated. So yeah, I mean, really, prior to the fire, other than like from that November, when we were like, well, something's obviously not right, because if it was all fine, we wouldn't have these people in the building. But they weren't telling us what the problem was. We were being told, oh, there's not, it's just a precaution, there's not a problem. And obviously that turned out not to be true.
So if we kind of go forward to the day itself, do you mind just recounting your experience of that day?
Yeah, it's fine. So So for me, like it was Sunday afternoon. I sat here just watching TV. It was hot, so I got the door open, and I remember Sarah was out. She'd gone training. And I was just sat here, and I could smell. All of a sudden, I could smell smoke, and it's not uncommon. Like sometimes people have barbecues down there. We have had, it has been. I certainly raised a complaint previously from a neighbour doing something stupid, and had been like, this is daft, and I'd complained to the previous management agency about it and never heard anything back. But for the most part, people are pretty good, but it isn't uncommon, like on a nice day, to sort of smell that. So I was like, okay. I was just sat here watching TV, and then, it starts to get a bit more, and then all of a sudden my neighbour starts banging on the door from that side, so she's like smacking on the door, screaming fire, and I'm oh shit, I'm just in a pair of shorts, so like I get up, run into the other room, throw her a t-shirt on, like open the door, and I see her, and it's just full of smoke. Like the hallway's just full of smoke, and at that point I can hear my neighbours, like who are 312 on the front, so I can hear their alarm, like from in their building, but I couldn't hear it in here. So it's going, it's full of smoke. So I'm like, oh right, okay, we've got a problem. I say to her, I say to my neighbour, right, go, and like I run back in, grab my phone, throw on a pair of jeans, I think, and grab my keys, run out the door. And by this point, the whole corridor's really, really small. It's not pitch black, but it's starting to get quite dark. And so I go out here into the hallway. Get to the top of the stairs, and like our neighbours from 312 are there. Now he's just in a towel. She's trying to drag him down the stairs, and he's like holding onto the door, and he's crying. He's saying something, and their Chinese, their English is pretty good. Her English is very good. His is okay, and I'm like, I get down, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I look out the window, like as you come into the lift shaft, and I can see the fire, and I'm like, oh right, the building is on fire at this point, because I can see the flames. And he's like, he's in a towel, and he's like, I'm like, we've got to go. And like he says something, I'm like, we need to go now. And like she manages to get his hand off the thing. We start going down the stairs. I realised later on that what he was saying was their cats were still inside. So like he didn't want to leave his cats. But I was talking to her after, and she said that by the time they were by the time I saw them in the hallway, their entire flat was on fire, because they were. He was in the shower, hence the towel. She was in the kitchen. She smelled smoke and turned around, and at that point the whole balcony was on fire, and it blew the door in, and it just went into their house. So like by the time I even got to the corridor, like their entire apartment's on fire. So yeah, we head down the stairs. There's people coming out, being like, what's going on? And so everyone's like, fire, go! We start herding people down the stairs. A couple of the guys from the second floor are running back up to help people, to like help people out and stuff. But we all sort of get downstairs. And once we get out of the building, obviously, as you come out, you realise that the whole of all the balconies are on fire on that side. So get out, run like to the side, get away from the bit that's on fire. I started trying to call Sarah, and then I realised that my neighbour's in 321, I think it is. 322. So I'm like, oh, they might be in the building, so I start trying to ring him. At that point, he's almost in my flat apparently. So like he heard because obviously it came up from below 312, we think, and then up and then across. So he did the same problem, and he managed to get out of his cat, get his laptop, and he tried to get out, and it was too smoky, so he climbed over the balconies here, and then he come into our flat, and was like, and then he tried to come out of ours. Obviously it's a lot worse in our corridor because the fire had been there for a lot longer, and in the end he ended up climbing down the side of the building with a cat in a bag on his back. I'm trying to ring him, he's not answering. Sarah rings me back then. I explained to her, like, you need to come home, like, this is, there's a fire. I then go up the street, like, this is, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes after like the fire engines, like they were on, I think they were within 5 minutes, 6 minutes, something like that. So they like come, the fire engines arrive. Stephen rings me back. I try and ring his girlfriend, Rachel, to try and get hold of her. She doesn't answer. Stephen rings me back. He tells me he's the other side of the building, so I come around here to find him. I find Mario, who's our neighbour that side. He's he's looking for. He's kind of like he's down there. He's been out, and his wife who was the one who alerted me. They've got he's 2 now. They wanted that she'd alert me. So obviously he's down there like screaming with a fireman, and I was like, no, she's out of the building. Like, so got hold of him. Like, we went and found her. And Sarah comes back. I think at that point I find Stephen. We get hold of Rachel. She arrives, and then we just kind of stood over that way. And yeah, just kind of watched the fire crew kind of handle it and everything else. At that point, it becomes a bit more like everyone around here is really like was lovely. Like, neighbours are coming out, people are offering food, offering drink. There isn't a lot of communication at this point, so we're stood literally over there, kind of watching it, and we're like, this is going on for a while.
Sorry, I need my keys.
As they start to put the fire out, it's like, okay, well, what are we doing now? Like, obviously the building's not on fire anymore, but what's going to happen? And the fire crew, that someone should be telling you, like, what's going to happen, but they don't know at this point. And so eventually, like, RMG turn up. Michelle Ivy, who's the woman in charge of them at the point, turns up. I see her turn up. She goes and speaks to the fire crew. Doesn't speak to any residents and leaves. And then we're like, well, we still don't know what's meant to be happening. And eventually, one of the residents said, they're setting up a centre in Thames View. So you need to go to the centre in Thames View, and then register with I think it's ICAB and the council. I think it was as well. So we go there. And then we kind of sit in there for register all of that. Then you sat there for a few hours really, just kind of waiting to hear. And it's kind of they've got like a note, like a whiteboard with next update on, and that keeps getting pushed back. Because fair enough, the fire crews are working. It's a movable timescale. And it just kind of goes on like that for a while. Eventually, I ring a friend of mine. I'm like, we're definitely not able to go home tonight. Can I stay at yours? Because at this point they're saying, you might be you might have to sleep in the sports hall. I'm like, okay, and he's like, yeah, of course, man, come over. So we book an Uber, we go over there, and then I think, I don't know, about 10ish at night, like ICAB ring me, and we're like, we can, like, if you need accommodation for tonight. I was like, I don't need accommodation tonight, and I might need it tomorrow, type thing. And that was like the day really. And then it was back there first thing in the morning.
So after that point, what was the kind of communication like from management about what was going to happen basically? And you must have felt very unsure of what's how you're at really.
I can't remember if we gave all our details to ICAB and to the council. I have a feeling at that point it was them that were basically doing the communication. I don't think RMG had really done anything at that point. I could be wrong about that, but I don't remember anything. But basically I got text off either the council or ICAB being like, look, there's a meeting tomorrow morning. Like, you've got you need to turn up to this, and you'll kind of find out what's going to happen from there. And that whole bit was kind of difficult, because when we weren't getting a lot of communication, like obviously the guy in charge of the fire, the head fireman or whatever it was, he'd come at points in the day and he'd be like, look guys, this is what we're doing, and he'd explain what was going on with the flats and when we would or wouldn't be let in and all of this. And he was quite good, but the rest of it was, we got, I think, what did we get? We got BRL, RMG, Adriatic, Bellway, all kind of, we had all the heads there that morning. I think obviously it was quite a heated debate with people very unhappy about what had happened. But there was a lot of promises of that there'll be there's going to be organised communication here. It'll all be set. And I remember the guy from BRL saying, look, we will take charge of this, and you won't have to deal with all these separate companies. It'll be dealt with, and that just never materialised after that at all. I think other than BRL sending out newsletters now, being every couple of months, being like, oh, this is the update. There's no direct communication from BRL. Adriatic, who are the leaseholder or the landlord, sorry, they obviously communicate with the insurance, but again, they haven't contacted us. Bellway refuse to deal with us. Bellway will have a massive builder apparently cannot find anybody within their team who is capable of talking to residents and handling residents. So instead of being able to talk to Bellway directly, we're forced to go through RMG, and obviously RMG are they're our management agency. They're not particularly organised, but I realise it's a difficult situation. It's a more difficult situation made harder by the fact that at the end of the day they have no power to say yes or no. So if I ask them a question, they have to go and ask Bellway a question, and if Bellway don't answer the question, Bellway don't answer it. So then when I chase them up so I ask them a question on Monday, I have no answer on a Friday. I'm like, what's going on? The answer I often get is, I'm still waiting to hear back from Bellway. And you're like, well, what are we doing? I guess on top of that, we've then had the other players added in. So the loss adjuster, and then Thomasons, who are for internals, who are their surveyor, and ended up being project manager. So we had relatively minor work that needed to the flat, but enough that it wasn't habitable. So when they came in, basically fortunately our flat was on fire, but they have to douse it all because the one over there was so all the floors were covered, and then just sort of smoke and water damage really. But if you looked at all this flooring is laminate, so once it got wet, it all came up, and the place is just covered. And yeah, we had a number of issues with that really, and we've had to go. Originally, it was maybe Bellway doing that, and then we've had to deal with Thomasons have took over that. So they've been probably our biggest point of contact, I think. But that in itself's been a nightmare, because apparently they don't really even though they're part of the loss adjuster and the insurance, it appears that Bellway are allowed to dictate what happens. So they had an original surveyor, and the surveyor came in and looked around my flat, and he said, oh, it's a mess. And he noted it was a mess, and on his report it states parts of the floor too soiled to inspect, and then he took photos of where the floors come up and everything else, and we got the report back from them. And at this point I think Bellway did have a person you could email, and this was within the first month. You were able to email her, and she basically just ignored me for 4 weeks. And then eventually I was like, because at this point we're like, what's going on? We're sat in you sat in a Premier Inn, you don't know what's happening, no one's telling you what's happening, no one's telling you what's going to be fixed, what isn't. And we're like, well, what are we doing? And yeah, she sat on this report for, I think it was 2 weeks, somewhere within that time they did the report. We then had to wait another 2 weeks for all the reports to be done. And then there was a period of time when you could contest the report, and they sat on it until I think you have to contest it by the Monday, they sat on it until the Friday. And they emailed it out, and she sent me this report, and I was like, well, this report says it literally said two soiled in places, but no work required, no remedial work required by us. Bellway don't have to do anything to this flat, it's fine. And I'd already spoken to the insurance, and the insurance had said to me, look, obviously stuff in your flat is your contents insurance, but you pay buildings insurance, and buildings insurance will cover you for certain things. And the question they always say to you is, what's your flooring? And I was like, well, my flooring's a laminate. And he's like, right, okay. So he's like, so it's fixed flooring, as in glued down. I was like, yep. He's like, right, that's part of your buildings insurance. Because it's glued down, it is covered. He's like, if you've got carpet, because it can be removed, it's contents. So we've been told this by the insurer, I've been told it by Zurich and the loss adjuster, and they were both like, it'll be covered. Like, if that's damaged, mate, it'll be covered. And then we get this thing saying, it's not covered. And I'm like, okay. So I ring them up. I finally get hold of this woman, because I've been trying to ring her for a couple of weeks, and she basically answers the phone, and I've tried to be very polite the entire time to everyone I've dealt with. It was the closest I've come to swearing at someone, because she was so rude, and she was just like, we're not doing anything with the report. We're not, like, there's no discussion. The report is a report. You're not getting any work done. We have no interest. And this was Bellway at the time. She was like, that's it. She's like, if you've got a problem, speak to the loss adjuster. Hung up. I was ridiculously angry at this point. So I rang the loss adjuster. In fact, I couldn't get hold of the loss adjuster at the time. Like, I imagine on the day he was a very busy man, because I couldn't have been the only person with that problem. So I ended up ringing Zurich, and I got through to someone else who was like, okay, I'm not dealing with this directly, but let me have a look at it. They rang me back and they were like, right, yeah, there's definitely a problem here, because you're not the only person complaining about this. There's going to be a project manager assigned. Thomason's will come in and deal with it. And that's coming up with Thomason's dealing with stuff as well. But yeah, just absolute chaos, really.
So how long were you in the Premier Inn for?
So we were in the Premier Inn for for around 10 days, maybe just a bit over, maybe 2 weeks, just around that time. So we were moved there the day after the fire. They basically, when we attended site, they were like, oh, look, so they were like, none of you are going home at the moment. You're all going to one of the Premier Inns in the local area. We can't get you all in Barking. So I think there was some of us in Barking, some of us in Dagenham, which is where we were, and then others in the one near City Airport. So obviously, fortunately for us, we could, because we both work from home, we can kind of be wherever, so it's a bit more flexible. But obviously some people, like the Dagenham one's quite far out, so if you've got commute for work, it's a bigger problem. So yeah, we were there for I think like 10 days, maybe a bit more. I mean, that in itself became a bit of a chore, because like I say, we both work from home. I mean, and the Premier Room's fine, but it's not designed for that. So we're in a room, it's the two of us, we've got, a room where a window doesn't open, you sat there, and all we can do is work in that room, and then it's like, all right, well, you've got ICAB are like, oh well, you've got it's got a brewer's fare attached to it, so that's your food. Like, that's the only food we'll cover. You can't have any, we won't cover anything else. And so I get that, they're like, oh, if you were going to work, we wouldn't cover your work. We don't cover your lunch because you pay for that out of your own pocket, but because you can't cook dinner, you can't cook breakfast, those are covered. We're both veggie, so that was an interesting time. It is not a very long menu if you don't eat meat on those things. I've got to say, after 10 days of just eating brewer's fare, I mean, there's an asset right next to us, I mean, we were buying fruit and things from that, because you just feel run down. It's not the sort of food you're meant to eat for that period of time, but that was that. After that, at that point we knew we were going to be out for longer, and so we were talking with ICAB, and we were trying to get, we spoke to ICAB, and ICAB said, look, if you're going to be out for longer, that's fine. The loss adjuster needs to sign off on something, and we can move you, but we can't move you unless they sign off on it. So we were trying to get hold of the loss adjuster, and at that point our neighbours, Rich and Stephen, they got offered a 2-bed flat in County Town, and they were like, do you want the other room? Because they were we were quite lucky, because we were in Dagenham Premier Inn for 10 days for the same room, and they were moved about, I think they had to move 4 or 5 times. And again, loads of other people were getting moved from the Barking Premier Inn, or the Barking Travel Lodge, no, the Premier Inn, I think. They'd be there for 3 days, and then it'd be like, oh, we can't do one night, so you've got to move somewhere for a night and then move back. And people getting much around. So we were very lucky, because we only had, we were there, we were set for 10 days, and that wasn't that was it. That wasn't really an issue, and because we didn't have to move. But after that, it was well, you can move in here. And we're like, right, great. So he was like, I was speaking to the guy, and he was like, I'll cancel this down now. I said, well, if you cancel it down now, what happens? Because this is at 11 in the morning. And he's like, well, if I cancel it down now, that's it. Your room's done from today. You'd have to move out now. And I was like, well, mate, I've got to work. I can't just pick up everything and leave now. I was like, can you keep it on until tomorrow? That gives me tonight to move into this new address. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, not a problem. And then because ICAV's not really set up to deal, they didn't have this concept that two couples would share a same flat. So our neighbours were made lead on the flat, and so all communication about the flat went to them. And I think it must have been about 5 or something. So we were like, we get ready to finish work, and we're like, right, we'll get all the stuff and we'll get going. And my neighbour rings me. He's like, right, we've got a problem. They've mucked up the booking. They can't get us in today. So we've got to move. So we're going to this place in I think it was like the next 2 days. So like 2 nights. So that night and the night after, he's like, so we've got to go to Hammersmith for 2 nights. So I was like, right, okay then. So we've got, at this point, you know, we know we have to be out of the flat in the home room in the morning. So we get everything that we've got, bundle it into an Uber, and away we go to Hammersmith. We're there for 2 nights, and then we're back all the way over to Canning Town. So I mean, that was not great. For the moving to Canning Town again, that was a problem. Like I took a day off for that because it was like they didn't confirm the booking until the morning. So we were sat in this place in Hammersmith, and again, everywhere we got moved to, everyone was so helpful because they were like, "What you've been through is horrific, right?" So everywhere could be more helpful. So we were speaking to this the place there, and we were like, "Look, we're meant to be moving, but we haven't been given a new address yet. Is it alright if we leave our stuff here?" No, look, we're not booked out this day, like it's fine. Like just drop the key off when you need to go, but you can sit in there for now as long as you need, it's not a problem. And so I don't know, like midday, 1ish, they confirm that it's booked. They're like, right, you can now go over to this place in Canning Town. So like myself, Sarah and Stephen load up the car with all our gear, and away we go. And then once we got to Canning Town, we were there from that point. We were there until the beginning of November, end of October. Fortunately for our neighbours, they didn't have such bad damage, so they were back sooner. But yeah, we were there, I think, beginning of November or still in that flat, basically.
And that's when we moved back here.
Yeah, I mean that whole period was a nightmare because the communication. What happened was we moved back. We moved there, and then it's a case of okay, well now work needs to start, and so it's like right, okay, well so when we outlined for this flat, the issues were the flooring needed replacing because it had come up and it needed to come out. The flat needed to be redecorated because it was all the walls were black, and then in the kitchen we had because they're just it's an MDF kitchen, right? So where it's got sprayed with water, it's absorbed the water and it's blown up. So it's like, well, we need these kitchen cabinets replacing, we need the floors replacing, we just need a bit of decoration. Other than that, thankfully, we don't have a lot of work. So that surely isn't a long period of time to get us back into a flat, right? We just need to agree how it's going to happen, what's going to happen, and how long that'll take. But yeah, we didn't move back until the beginning of November. So what then happened was once we were in this one in Canning Town, we was at this point we were still trying to get Bellway to answer things, but they weren't. They were just and it was basically Bellway, RMG, and Thomason's all the emails. And I was just like, well, what's going on? And everyone. Then there's just a different story from everyone, and it's kind of all over the place. And eventually, Thomason's kind of took it over, and they were like, look, Ben, who's working there, was like, look, mate, just deal with me, and I'll try and get it sorted for you. And to be fair to him, for the most part, he's a bit slow at times, but it's difficult for them because, again, they're in the same situation that RMG were. Apparently, I mean, I would have thought that Thomason's being employed by the loss adjuster would mean that because they're paying the bill, they set the tone of the conversation, right? So if he says, oh, Gaz needs his floor replacing, they'll say, oh, okay, right, you said that, and that means the loss adjuster said that, and that means it's paid for. So fine, we'll do it. And that just wasn't the case. It was they came, Thomason's and the loss adjuster came in with Bellway, whoever the site manager is, and he was in a mood because obviously they had a new project manager come in, so he was very. I'd been warned by Thompson's was very grumpy that day, and they were like, but they come in and they're like, yeah, obviously the floor needs replacing. You need like these things doing. And you would assume that at that point, that's just a conversation of a couple of emails. Okay, like we'll replace you, and I've been told like for like. So like whatever your floor is now, we'll replace it. We can whip out a couple of kitchen cabinets. It's nothing, and you're like sweet, and they're like obviously we'll paint the rest of it. So I'm like right, that's great. So can I get some confirmations on time? When is this going to happen? Like, do you need any information from me? Like, can I get? And one of the things that was talked about was we were meant to get a schedule of work. And Thomason's basically said, yeah, so what will happen is we've agreed all the work, we've passed our feedback on to Bellway, and Bellway should now provide you with a document which is a schedule of work outlining exactly what they will do, when they will do it, and how it will be done. And this became a mythical thing. I spent 3 months chasing a schedule of work, emailing, and basically I had Thomason's copy, I'd be emailing whoever it is from Bellway, but RMG, and basically, Bellway basically at this point had been like, we don't talk to residents at all. Everything goes through someone else. So I was chasing RMG, being like, look, I'm still waiting on my schedule of work here. Like, I need a schedule of work. So I need to know what you're doing, when you're going to do it, so I can organise like getting all my stuff out. And after 3 months, I got an email back, being like, oh, here's your schedule of work. And it was 3 bullet points. And it was like requires cleaning, requires cleaning, a couple of units replaced in the kitchen cabinet, some flooring replaced. And I was like, what do you mean some flooring replaced? And they're like, oh well, we're not going to do everything. We're just going to do the living room and the kitchen and maybe the hallway. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like the flooring's laid throughout. It's all one colour. If like the guy, the loss adjuster said to me, look, you're going to need all your flooring out because we won't be able to colour match it. He's like, if we and it runs, the way it runs in the building, it's seamless, so like there's no break in the floor per room. He's like, so it'll all need to come out. And to be fair, other than the bedroom, which would have needed a couple out because they run into the hallway, other than the bedroom, like even the study still had like water damage where the floor had come up. And so I was like, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. What's going on here? So I emailed them back. I'm like, well, this isn't what we'd agreed, and I copied Thomason's in. I'm like, this isn't what you said to me, lads. What's going on? And Thomason's getting, he's like, nah, that's not right, mate, is it? He's like, right, I'll be on site like next week. Can you come down? And this sort of started a chain of, again, it must have been like a month, 6 weeks or something, of us having to come to site like in the middle of the day. At, like, you'd be like, oh, I'm here like in 2 days or something. Can you kind of, whatever. So I'm having to get Ubers over from Canning Town and back to try and find out what's going on. And basically just to come in and then be like, right, yeah, no, we'd agreed this before, yeah, let me take some more pictures and sign it off. And they'd sign it off, and then it'd go, and I'd assume, oh, this has been agreed, because I've turned up and Ben said, yeah, of course, mate, look, the whole floor needs doing. I can see the whole floor needs doing. And I was like, right, but I thought that's what we agreed last time. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. He's like, I don't know what Bellway are playing at. And that appeared to be a key phrase that I kept getting was, I don't know what Bellway are doing. And yeah, we started going back and forth about this. Eventually I get them to confirm that all the flooring will be done. And so we're like 3-4 months out of the fire at this point. No work's been done to the flat, nothing. And you're like, this is just ridiculous. Like, we're not getting anywhere. Every time they're being told to do work, they're pushing it back, and they're being like, oh, we're not doing that. So we finally got that agreed, and then it was like, all right, so what's going to happen next? I was like, right, and at this point now I'm starting to get worried about things, because I'm like, right, now, rather than them actually doing the work, they seem to be trying to do as little as possible and do what they want. So I'm like, well, what's going on? So I'm like, right, so you've agreed now that you're going to replace my whole floor. And they're like, oh yeah, you need to come in and look at samples for the floor. And I was like, well, I know which flooring I want. I was like, I want the one that I've got, because I've been told I'm going to replace like for like. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. So RMG are then stitched out again, and they're like, you need to come to the office, have a look at the samples and stuff, and just sign it off. And I'm like, right, okay. So I turn up, my floor is not on the sample. And I'm like, well, these are what I think they're putting in the new ones. And I was like, my flooring's not on there, mate. I was like, I've been told I get like for like. I was like, so I want my flooring. That's what that's what I've been told. And he was like, at this point, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. He's like, have you got he's talking, have you got any documentation of what it was? And he's like, because he's like, they're also doing, you also will get carpet in the bedrooms. I was like, I don't want carpet in the bedrooms. I was like, I paid Bellway like £5,000 for an upgrade when I bought the property to have the laminate throughout. I expect it to be replaced throughout. He's like, Bellway is doing carpets in the bedrooms. I was like, they're not. So I was like, right, okay. So that then became a whole thing. Fortunately, that one was quite short-lived. Like Thomason's stepped in there and just went, no, his floor is laid throughout. You lay it, because I had to write an email after this, and he was like, if you've got again, the burden was pot nuts, because he was like, if you can prove that's what you had, he's like, if you've got the upgrade sheet and stuff, that'd be great. And I was like, firstly, I shouldn't have to prove anything, but secondly, they have the upgrade sheet because they built the bloody flat, so they must have it somewhere. So, but I did have it. I had it in a box. I went and found it, took a photo of it. Here it is that I've paid for my flooring, laid throughout. Like, here's the upgrade. Here's the model number. This is what I expect to be replaced. And then weeks go by. No one signs it off. Like Thomason's, like I said, stepped in and said it's throughout. That's happening. And then like weeks of me chasing. So are we guaranteeing the flooring? Are we guaranteeing the flooring? What's going on? Nothing. And eventually, okay, yes, we will guarantee the flooring. And I was like, right, we will guarantee the flooring is not good enough. I want a response from you that states in writing the model number of what I am getting. Because, at this point, we're in September, nearing October. They've done nothing to the flat. They've done nothing but argue about what they're going to do. So I'm like, right, okay, let's, I want it in writing, give me in writing. They finally sign it off at that point, and it was, it's just ridiculous. They signed this off, and we're like, right, okay, cool. I have to come back to site on a Wednesday, and he's like, right, okay, and Thomason's there. And he's like, right, Bellway want to start this week. He's like, Bellway want to start on Monday, mate. He's like, can you get everything out on Friday? I was like, no. I was like, where am I going to find the time? I've already had, I've been having days off, hours off here and there. Where am I finding the time to do all this? I was like, I can't get it emptied over the weekend. I was like, you need to give me at least until midway next week. And so we had to rush to try and find a mover to help with all that. We spent the weekend boxing everything. I mean, in the end, that ended up being a nightmare because you can't get a good mover on a short date. So we've had loads of damage to the bed and other things that have basically just been bashed about as they've been moved. But you rushed to try and get everything out. So at this point, I'm obviously still trying to be like, right, I don't want to be holding anything up. I want my flat to be fixed. I want to go home. But it was an absolute nightmare. We get everything out, and then they plod on with work basically at that point. It's a slow process through October because you come at this point they've got an empty flat, so you come in, they paint, they fix a couple of things on the walls where which had happened from subsidence and stuff like that. So they've done a few bits, tied it up, paint it, and then eventually lay the floor. But in this period of time, I'm becoming more concerned. Look, communication's been awful between you lot. And the thing that the guy said for the movers was we'll need a week's notice to be able to get your stuff out because it's in crate storage. So we put all your stuff in a big wooden crate and stick it in our warehouse. And I was like, right, cool, that should be fine. But as this is going on, by this point we're now having no end of trouble with iCab and everything else. So because there's no communication, basically appears to be no communication between Bellway and anyone else. So Bellway aren't talking to RMG, Bellway aren't talking to Thomason's, Bellway aren't talking to the loss adjuster. So no one knows what state the flat's in, or if they do, they're not able to talk about between themselves and work it out. So that might have even started as early as at some point in September, but at this point, obviously, a lot of people other people being told, you need to go back now. Your flat's done, you're going home. And obviously some people were not keen on that, and I think that's perfectly understandable because no remedial work had been done to the building. People were like, I'm scared to go back in the building, I don't want to be there. But the insurance doesn't cover that. Your mental state and everything else isn't really what they care about. What they care about is your flat habitable? If it's habitable, you're going back in. Because Bellway's original report misclassified our flat. They were like, there's no damage to your flat. And not Bellway, RMG, or anyone else appeared to ever work out to move our flat into the damaged category. So we ended up with no end of problems, because they'd be like, oh, your extension, you're not getting extended because you're not getting work done. I was like, well, wait a minute, I am getting work done. All my stuff's in storage, mate. I haven't got it. I don't have a home to go to here. Like, there is nothing there at the moment. It needs, and what then happened was from, probably the beginning of September, it would be like, we'd be getting a week extension, 2 weeks extensions, but these extensions wouldn't be done at the beginning of the week, so you wouldn't have 2 weeks, it'd be, oh, we're not, it's running out at the weekend. So on Wednesday, I'd start ringing up being like, I'd be emailing everyone, so I had the loss adjuster, Thomason's, RMG, Bellway, all in this email being like, hey guys, we've only got accommodation until Saturday, you haven't said anything about the flat yet being finished. I need a week's notice before I can get all my stuff out, so I need you to at least extend my accommodation until the Saturday after, because that's the first day I'll be able to get it delivered. Please let me know, please get back to me. This is a concern. Nothing would happen. It'd be a case of I hear nothing on Wednesday, so I chase them on Thursday, chase them on Friday, and multiple times it'd be a case of Friday afternoon, it'd get extended. Once it got extended on the Saturday, which, and so at this point I'm in conversation with the people who rent the one in Canning Town, and multiple times I've had to either ring them or email them and say, hey guys, look, my accommodation will be extended because I know my work's not finished, but I don't know what they're doing. Please do not rent this out, because by this point we've been in Canning Town for a long time. We've moved quite a lot of our stuff into there. I mean, we were there for over 5 months, so you were like, I don't want to keep having to move about. If I can stay in one place, that's at least some form of normalcy for me. I'm not like, it's less stress. But we just ended up with that all the time, just fighting to stay in this thing. And in the end, we got completely done over. Like, it got to the end of October, and I've got an email thread that shows that from the middle of September, I've been emailing them saying, hey guys, I need a week's notice. I haven't heard anything this week. Do you think it'd be done next week? And so on and so forth. And in the end, they did. And I know, like, at this point, there's a lot of other extensions going on, and extensions are being granted for people who potentially don't have damage to their properties and stuff, but they're being given out of kindness, which is nice. But in the end, all of this sort of comes to the loss adjuster drawing a line in, like, we are not paying any more extensions for anyone other than like the 8 who are completely burnt out. And so I'm emailing them, and it's Tuesday, I think it is. I'm like, look, accommodation runs out on Saturday. What's going on? You haven't told me my flat's finished. I haven't had I've had no communication from you for over a month. Like, no one's got back to me to give me any indication that any of the work's done. Like, but you're kicking me out on Saturday. What is going on? I need to be here at least until the middle of next week so I can get my stuff out of storage. Please talk to me. Nothing all week. No communication. On the Friday, I'm ringing RMG. I'm trying to get hold of the loss adjuster. He's just ducking me. They changed the loss adjuster by this point. The original one was quite good, but the one who took over just seemed to have no interest. And I'm like, look, I got hold of someone at RMG, and I was like, look, Pat, I was like, I can't move back. Like, what's going on? And I think it had been the Wednesday, actually, that the Thomasons replied and said, remedial work's complete, so the flat's okay. And I was like, I still can't get my stuff out. I was like, and at this point, I replied to that email being like, hey guys, great, so do I need to come and sign this off? What's the final procedure? What is going on? Because I'm keen to work out where we are. I'm like, if we're done, like, can I start thinking about getting my stuff out? And I'm told, there's no sign off from you. We've signed it off. And I was like, right, seems a bit weird. And I was like, right, so I was like, so it's done. But right, that's fine, but I can't get my stuff out until next Wednesday. I was like, I've rung the bloke, and he said to me the earliest day they can do is next Wednesday. I was like, so I need my accommodation staying until Wednesday or Thursday. What do you want me to do? I can't move back into an empty flat. And eventually, I get on the Friday, I get an email from the loss adjuster being like, you were told you weren't getting an extension. you've had plenty of ample time to apply for this. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you haven't even confirmed until Wednesday that my work was done. Like, you know, I said, and by this point, I hadn't even seen it because I hadn't had time to come over. I was like, I haven't seen it. I was like, what's going on? But he's like, nah, you were told, that's it, you're done. I was, right, okay, thanks. I mean, by this point, I was meant to be going away that weekend. I didn't want to leave, I was debating whether to cancel that and everything else. So I was like, well, we can't move back. And I said to him, I was like, so I'm meant to move back into a flat that's got nothing in it. That you know, because you lot can't organise. I was like, I've been emailing you every week for over a month at this point, like, and you've never responded to me, but it's now my fault that I haven't organised this when I've been asking you for an update. And he was like, we won't pay it, get stuffed. And I was like, right. I had a few choice words for him, and then I rang the company who were doing it. I said to them, look, you know, this is the situation I'm in. I need it until next Wednesday. How much is that going to set me back? And the guy's like, look, I'll do it for whatever we do it for ICAP. It's a little bit cheaper. He's like, it's going to be 900 quid. And at this point, I'm like, well, there's nothing else we can do. I mean, other than, like, we've got so much stuff in that flat by this point, because obviously we'd have to move stuff out of here. So we moved most of our stuff into storage. We've got valuables in there and stuff. I was like, there's so much stuff. I don't want to move it into cheaper accommodation for a couple of days to then have to move it again, because it's a nightmare. So basically, I paid this 900 quid. And yeah, and we had to move back in the Wednesday after. But like the whole thing's just an absolute nightmare. Like getting communication has been like so bad.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, well, I'd understand if we just said nothing. Well, I wouldn't. You know, it's their job to. It's meant to be organisable. Like, you know, all of these companies are meant to be professionals, are meant to be able to manage workloads. But yet, no one can tell me when things are getting done. In the end, we moved back in here that Friday. I think it was before I was meant to go away on the Saturday. After I'd extended the accommodation, I was going to go see some friends, and I was like, I'll come in and look at the flat before I go. I came in and I was like, looks pretty good overall, because they originally said, oh, I think it was 2 weeks before, they'd been like, oh, it was nearly done, but our lad had come in and there was some snagging to do. So yeah, we're still doing the snagging, and obviously that meant that we couldn't move back. So I came in and I was like, all right, so he'd said that some of the floor was like loose and in places and hadn't been glued properly, so I come in and start looking at the floor and that, and I opened the cupboards, opened the fitted wardrobes in the bedroom. They've pulled all the flooring out, not replaced it. There's nothing there. Same with the heating cupboard, nothing there. And not only they're not replaced it, they've pulled it up and then it's just glue on the floor. So it's all sticky, and I was like, right, okay. So then I start looking around, I was like, right, okay, so they haven't done that, what else is wrong? And I noticed there's a big scratch on the floor. I was like, right, okay, so I take photos of all this. I'm like, hey guys, and this is the Friday before, when we've been told we're not having any more accommodation extended and everything else. So I was like, look, all these things, like, these things are still outstanding. I was like, I accept that they're not preventing me from moving back, but I expect them to be fixed. And so we go away, I come back on the Sunday, we're in there till Wednesday, and we come back, and I come in, it smells funny, like, doesn't, like, smells damp, doesn't smell right, and, you know, obviously, fire building, things might smell a bit down like that, but the air, I was like, it's like someone sprayed something, and they turned on, and they left, we've got like an air freshener plug-in thing, and they turned that on and left it on, and so I was like, what's going on here? So like, turn that off, and it really does smell damp in here when we move back, and we've got a big sign on the sink with "Do not use" on it, and I'm like, have you broke my sink? Oh, and actually that was there on the Friday, so because I'd emailed them and been like, is this broken? Is it what? Because you've put a big sign saying "Do not use." Mm-hmm. Obviously, we disconnected all the white goods. We moved them into the bathroom to basically allow them to lay the floor. And so, yeah, so I'm like, this smells like. Does this thing work? Does it not? And then so I opened the thing in the sink. I'm like, that's where the smell's coming from, like, because it's covered. And then I look, and obviously where we disconnected the white goods. Obviously, I don't have any caps to seal off the sink, so they've been running the sink. And so they've been running the sink, and it's been coming out of either side. It's basically, and this is still damaged now. They still haven't fixed this because they're arguing that they didn't break it. So on the original damage to my kitchen, there were 3 side panels that needed doing. There is now the hole underneath the sink and next to the oven is all gone because they've been running the taps while they've been in here, and obviously it's flooded underneath all of that. I mean, the other theory from them was, oh well, maybe because next door's quite badly damaged, maybe maybe when we've been working on there, it's dislodged water and it's coming through the wall. I was like, if that's what you say, I was like, the fact that you've put a big "do not use the tap" sign on implies to me that was probably the issue. But whichever you want, I don't care. Just fix it. That's still not fixed. We are in March. I moved back in November. And that they've still not confirmed they will fix. Every week I'm still emailing Thomasons with the loss adjuster in, being like, hey guys, this hasn't been done. What is going on? We didn't get the extra flooring, so the cupboard flooring, and they scratched a mark in the kitchen as well. We didn't get that done until 3 weeks ago. So it was, we moved in November. They didn't do that until Feb. They then took, after they put the flooring in, the guy's like, oh, there'll be a builder coming to do the mastic for you around the corners. He's like, but because we can't do it now, it takes 72 hours to dry. I was like, right, that's fine, cool. So over the weekend, but then another 2 weeks before they sent a builder to do mastic. At that point, I was like, I'll buy some mastic and do it myself. But eventually, they turned up and did it. But yeah, we've still got damage now that we're still. With that, I don't even know if they're going to fix it. And it's like.
So now that you're back in here, do you feel safe living here?
It's a difficult question. So, I think about, I try and think of it in the way that I lived here for 5 years and we never had a fire, and in that sense, as long as everyone's sensible, I mean, residents have never been given the exact reason of the fire. Now I've seen Bellway use the barbecue thing and BRL use it. I guess they have access to the fire report, but we don't have access to it because it's under criminal investigation. So I mean, and there's a lot of. I feel like there is some hysteria here, because people are like, oh, you can't. I mean, I think smoking's now banned in the balconies. Not that we smoke, but it's like people smoked in these buildings for 5 years. The wood itself isn't tinder. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, if the smallest flame gets on it, it's going to go up. What happened, or what we believe happened, was a very large heat sort of took it up. If it catches fire, we've got a big problem. But and I try and think of it in that way. I'm like, look, you lived here for 5 years. Everyone's now on edge. No one's going to be having barbecues on the balconies. People aren't meant to be smoking on them, though I don't know if that's necessarily an issue. But it's I feel like people are going to be more sensible, at least for the short period. And I try and keep that in mind, because otherwise, yeah, it is worrying. We've had, I've been complaining at RMG because there was a period of 6 weeks where they weren't testing the fire alarms on Fridays. And between 10 and 10:30, we were told post-fire, because they didn't do it before, we were told post-fire that we would have fire alarm testing. And the last 2 weeks they've done it, but for 6 weeks before that, nothing. Because I work from home, I know when it's not done. So when it first was done, I was like, hey guys, fire alarm wasn't tested this week. Just to let you know, blah blah blah. Well, it didn't happen the next week. I was like, hey guys, fire alarm didn't happen again, and so on and so forth. And just me getting more and more irate, being like, what's going on? And eventually, I got a reply being like, oh, we're going to send out an engineer to check it. And I was like, all right, cool, because it's a new system. Maybe this builder's around. Maybe it's just got knocked. It's broke. Didn't tell us when the engineer was coming out, and it was a Thursday evening at 5, and the alarm went off, and because I wasn't expecting, I can tell you now, that sent panic through me. I was like, and then I was like, oh no, wait a minute, they're sending an engineer. Maybe it's the engineer. And I know from speaking to the friends, I wasn't the only person that panicked then. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I try and keep a level head about it, but I mean, we're not. In essence, we're not safe. I mean, you're safe to an extent, but yeah, it's always there in the back of your mind now. Now you know how bad the balconies are. it's always there in your mind. You're always like, if something happened, because if the fire had happened on the back of the building, we wouldn't have a building. Like if it, like the only reason it wasn't as bad was because the front has a break. So between each section of balcony where the doors are, there's a non-connecting bit. If it had gone up on the back, by the time they turned up, the entire building had been on fire. And I don't like, and the fire brigade did a great job, but I don't think they'd have been able to contain it. We'd have probably lost the building. We'd be talking about, you know, raise it and go. And like, it's that kind of thing where when you start thinking about it, you're like, yeah, all right, maybe, you know, it becomes more of a concern, and you just try not to think about it too much. I think that would be like, if I think about it, then no, I feel uneasy. But you try and level things out and have a like just a sensible approach to it, and yeah, hopefully that'll get us through.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have much else to ask. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything else you'd like to see happen going forward?
I mean, I feel like residents deserve proper answers, and at the moment, I don't know if we'll get them, because we obviously, and I realise part of the police investigation stuff is to protect the person who caused the fire, and I understand that, but we don't have any answers about that. And residents deserve to know what's happened there, and I really hope we do get some answers from that. Of other things, like there's big talk from BRL, RMG, Bellway, Adriatic, all of them about the communication is awful. Like the management agency, like I say, I feel for them in some points because like their hands are tied, but for other things they're just not good enough, and they're not delivering us a fair standard of service for what we're paying. I mean, you came up in the lift today. That lift was out of action for 2 months, and then when it's come back into action now, it's sounding an alarm as it goes up and down. So something's clearly not right with it, and the person who fixed it knows that. Why is it then not been rectified straight away? I do feel like we deserve answers. Yeah, and I would like to see I'd like to see people actually held to account for this, because that's my worry, is that at the moment there's a lot of talk. If you read everything like Bellway and BRL put out, you'd have thought every resident's having an easy ride, and from my ramblings you can see, like, I know I'm not the only person who's got horrific stories like this where I'm getting mucked about constantly, and I'm having to fight for things that I've been told I should be getting. I would like to know why Bellway have been allowed, and I don't think we'll ever answer this, but I would like to know why Bellway have been allowed to inject themselves into this situation and then control it, because they basically came in and said, we will help put the building right because we built it, and that, fair enough, seems a little bit logical, but you're also a little bit sceptical, actually, like, well, what are you doing, and no one's held them to account. Like, apparently they're signing off what they're going to do. Like, the insurance company and the project manager are both telling me, well, we'll pass it to Bellway, and they should hopefully sign that off and it'll get done. I'm like, well, wait a minute, you're paying the bill. Why are they allowed to do this, And it's that kind of thing where, no one is really, everyone's passing the buck, and we're all kind of just stuck, here, being like, well, hopefully this will get done. Yeah, I mean, the balconies themselves are a whole new trail of argument that we've got. Bellway have decided they want it to be one colour, they pick what they're doing. Residents are still trying to find out, and I've been asking this since the fire. We've got, as I said before, like the balconies were a big selling point for me. You've got a balcony that's just over 6 foot wide. It runs the length of your flat. You can have a table and chairs on there. You can have planters on there. In the summer it's great. You can sit out and you've actually got outside space. To replace them, obviously everything needs to come off that, and it's like, okay, where do we put all this stuff? And they're like, well, keep it in your flat. And I was like, well, you're telling me it's going to be over a week to replace my flat. How am I meant to keep all that garden furniture, or a table, chairs, and a planter? Where's that going to go, mate? It just needs to go to your flat, or we'll take it away and destroy it for you. Well, neither of those are options that are really good to me. And and I've been asking them about this, because at one point we were told, we'll make an area where it can be stored and that'll be secure, or we'll cover putting it into storage. you know, but now I'm, you know, still chasing, and it's just, yeah. I would like to see, I'd actually like to see at the end of it, people held to account, because, yeah, there's been major failings, and I think that's throughout. Like, I don't think anyone here is blameless. Like, and whether that's, you know, for the building itself, so, like, I'm sure that when I did hear the fire safety inspector argue about the quality of wood used on the building and how that should be flushed the building, not used as a balcony. But my understanding is that that's a problem in a subjective law. You know what I mean? So, like, planning, you know, but everyone here has something to answer for. Like, whether that be poor management and poor help provided to the residents. So, like, you know, RMG. And I would argue, you know, the loss adjuster, so by default, the insurer, and Thomason's, and our landlord, Adriatic, have all been sort of nonplussed. Like, there's no urgency. There's no, you know, all of them should be held to account. Bellway, and the architect and people have serious, you know, questions to answer over. Was it safe? And same with National Home Builders Association, who signed it off. You know, again, you've all told me this building's safe. We've got a load of stuff that's been put in post-fire. Like, if you look in the basement, all the fire stopping they've done on pipes. Now, I know some stuff's changed, like, post-Grenfell, and regulations advanced, but I would have thought that fire stopping should have been in there to begin with, to be honest with you, because fire stopping is not a new thing. You know, I mean, I guess, yeah, speaking of Grenfell, that my worry is there that, you know, we're talking about an inquiry that is only going to deal with large buildings. Like, anything that they put into place wouldn't touch a building the size of Samuel Garside. And that worries me, because there's a lot of low-rise flats that are just as at risk, but, you know, nothing happens. We need to change the law on what a balcony is, for example. You can't say a balcony is a decorative object. Therefore, it's not counted in, like, safety. That clearly is a danger. You know, we are proof of that. And, like, yeah, I would like to see it. I mean, I don't think we will, but I would like to see a change in the law. I would like to see, you know, people have a right to not have combustible materials used on their flats. And you can argue, oh, you'd have to make everything out of metal. It's like, but there's different grades of wood. Like, if you built the balconies out of a higher standard of wood and treated it, it would be fine. You know, the fact that it's wood isn't the problem. It's the quality that you're allowed to use, and that needs to change.